This moves into trust your red light, green light vibes, the body. This is something we circle back to again and again and again, that they captain their own ship, that they have an internal compass, the voice of their own soul that can be felt throughout the body if they learn to tune into it. Again, who's really going to teach our children to trust their vibes? Us. And a lot of the way I do it is because I'm talking about my vibes all the time at dinner. That's conversation. Oh my gosh. I was in the store today, kids, and I got this really weird feeling in my stomach, and it felt like the red flag. So I got protective of myself. I thought, you know what? I'm going to head on out and move on my way. So you share that instead of just learning how to trust your vibes, but not really offering it to your children. You can create a huge, in my book, I've got lots of activities for these different things, a huge red light, green light in your hallway. We had Esther and Jerry Hicks' emotional scale from Ask It and Is Given, big poster in our upstairs hallway for years, so they could determine where they were on the emotional scale. So I could come in and say, I'm angry, and that's okay. And how do you turn the boat around? What's the next step after anger? And really get them used to taking responsibility for their emotions, for their body, for their vibes, and not just assuming that they'll maybe get it one day when they're 40. That's okay. I'm still working on all that. But I don't think it has to be that way anymore. That's kind of my point. We can raise children without the psychic debris to wade through that we've had to wade through. We can raise children, and the time is right, that will not have years and years of shadow work. We can have these kids who are gifted beyond measure, up and running and offering themselves full out, full on to the world through whatever they choose to do. If they're a psychotherapist, then they offer trusting your vibes and soul to soul. If they're a lawyer, yeah, be a lawyer, but make it soul to soul.
I have a question.
Yes.
This may be totally off the realm, so if it is, or you want to take it offline, just let me know.
Okay.
So if you sit down and you tell the kids, you know, you're trying to express kids are the captain of their own ship, okay? I have some kids that will not eat anything healthy. I mean, how do you roll it into that realm? Because if I'm telling him he is his own ship, or, you know, captain, he's going to choose the M&Ms.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we've laid a lot of groundwork that we're blended beings. So this is not about free-for-all parenting at all. You know, we're in a human body, and it is parent to child, but you're always attached to that larger perspective of soul to soul. And yes, we would talk to our kids about conscious eating, and that, you know, we're not going to have the M&Ms until we've tried the broccoli. So it doesn't take that out of it. It's this more of a conscious blended being state where the older they get, the older my children have got, yeah, it's much more. Well, that would be your choice, but there are natural consequences to every choice. I would guide you not to do that because we know what sugar does. We've talked about it, but that type of thing. And I'll give you an example to bring it home. My daughter Piper, she's going to be 15 tomorrow. My other daughter's 16. Quite social. Drop her off at the mall and joint company and boys and girls. And we've laid enough groundwork that I can say, and I look her in the eye and I say, Pippi, stay awake. And she looks at me and she says, I will, Mom. Meaning she will do her best in what's expected of her, that there's not going to be a victim or a villain here. If she goes to the mall, she's accountable for thought, word, deed, choice, priority, action, and there's no right or wrong turn per se, but there are certainly natural consequences. So that's been really what we talk a lot with our children about. You can't make a wrong turn when you can never die and you can never be harmed and you are absolutely safe. It's really not possible to make a wrong turn, and we've talked that openly with our children, but you better believe that some paths are more arduous. Some paths are going to keep rolling down into that abyss that we all know when you get twirling on something and you find yourself in that space where you're completely lost and this is the only reality and you've lost total connection to your soul. And there are consequences for that. So that is worked on all the time in our home with our children. I want to share one more story because I think it really helps. How do you do it? My older daughter, Aiden, she's 16. She'd played soccer since she was in kindergarten, got to that top travel level where we were starting to travel to Philadelphia, Las Vegas. My husband happens to be the varsity girls soccer coach at New Trier. They've won 3 state championships. And I share that only because you can start to see the underlying dynamic. Is she in it for herself? Is she in it because that's what her husband does, her father does, and that's all she's ever known? Who is she? What does she love? And I was starting to sense that maybe soccer wasn't her thing. But how do you tell your dad that, who it is his thing? So she came to us before she was going to enter 9th grade, which would be his program in charge of all the different teams, and late at night, so I knew, ooh, something juicy's coming here. And she said, Mom, I don't think I want to play soccer anymore. I'm not sure, but I'm just getting this feeling. And she's old enough to captain her own ship in this sense that I said, all right, let me help guide you to feeling your way on this. Close your eyes if you would. And she did. On a normal day, I might get an eye roll on that. I won't lie. But she was in her state of really desiring assistance. She closed her eyes and I said, okay, Aiden, picture playing soccer next year. You go into your freshman year, you're gonna be traveling a lot. You know, at that top level team, it's very competitive. There are expectations. That has good and bad parts to it. How do you feel? Take a minute. How do you feel? And she was quiet. And she opened her eyes and they were a little teary. And she said, I have a pit in my stomach. I feel a little bit of dread. I feel some anxiety. I said, okay, wow, what wonderful information you just gave yourself, girly. And then I said, all right, close your eyes. Imagine going into freshman year at New Trier that is like a college campus, frankly, that offers anything you could imagine. We're bused in that way. And think of some of the things that you might want to try if there were space to do so. She did. We were quiet. I gave her the time and the space. And I tell you what, she didn't even have to open her eyes because the smile on the lips started to upturn. She opened her eyes and she smiled and she said, I felt lighter. I felt relief. And I just said, you know what, Aiden, you can make whatever choice. You know that we support you. But from witnessing what I just saw in you, I think you know your answer. And when you're ready, tell us your answer. And we're just the energy behind that, she stopped playing, happy as can be, finishing up sophomore year, plays badminton and tennis, never to be on varsity, just for the joy of playing. She's a very academic girl. She does a lot of social service. She's going to Thailand for 4 weeks this summer for service. You know, things that wouldn't have opened up for her. So that's just kind of an example of what I mean. Granted, she was 14 at the time, but of how we try and work with our children. To me, soul-to-soul parenting, being a conscious family, you're going to bump up against each other a lot as well, because you don't hide as much stuff. If you're angry, you feel safe enough in the nest to show it. I don't want my kids stuffing down emotions. I want to know how they feel. I want to release it. We have an anger process that we use. All kinds of things. And I have 2 girls that share a room. You would believe how utterly messy this room is, okay? And I'm a little bit Byron Katie-ish when she decided, gosh, is my whole life going to be about these dirty socks on the floor? I've let that go, but when it's every week or two and I come in there and my path has led me to a lightness that I really didn't know was possible. Yes, I'm the mom, but there's much more causeless joy. There's much more giddiness about just being alive that bubbles into who I am as a mother. So I'll give you an example. I want the room clean because it's time and it's really pigsty-ish eventually and not the best habits. So they're in there, I might shimmy on in. Girls, just so you know. I know y'all have plans later. No one will be leaving the house until we get the room done. Jazz hands. They don't always like that. But I tell you what, you'd be amazed at the lightness that they'll look at me and, but they get it. I just offered them my spirit without, no one's going anywhere. Doesn't get done, they're laughing, they put on their music, come on in there again. Wow, nothing has been done. Okay, final warning. The final warning, and then mom goes into the abyss. And I'm warning you. And then they'll say, okay, doesn't get done, and then bam, okay, she's over the edge. Clean this room! So I'm just saying how it can kind of look. There's kind of a willingness in me to start with the light and the humor that is spirit, that's silly, that dances, that sings. And a lot of times that's enough. It's enough. Not always. Yes.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to know how old were your girls? You just said the two of them, right? You said?
And a boy.
And a
He's
boy.
12.
So how old were they when you started this journey?
They were 4, 7, and 8 when it became clear. And I just want to, Tony, my wonderful videographer, he videos my husband's soccer games. Jim is a very wonderful, he's a wonderful anchor to me, my husband. But a lot of people ask, one of the first questions, what if you have a spouse that's not in it or a partner? You don't need to pull anyone along in that sense. He is very willing and open and present for me to kind of be the leader of this in our family, and he participates in family discussions. But I contend, and please don't laugh, I'm sure you're like, I can tell, Annie, but I can get a little more esoteric and real passionate with the soul and the universe. It's my passion. And he'll say, after we've talked about something, oh my gosh, Annie, kids, Mom just did a great job with that. Now let me give you my perspective. He pulls in these real life metaphors that literally blow me away. He's not outwardly, in the sense, like as spiritual as I am, but who needs the label anyway? That's just another label. So I kind of veered off of your question, but everyone in our family is different. My son is very into sports, baseball, basketball. He's much more competitive than myself and my girls, just naturally wired that way. He's not gonna be as into, let's have a soul-to-soul chat. So I'm a little bit more literal with him purposely. He participates, but I'm not gonna push anyone, especially as they get older. They're on their own path. And really enough of what I can offer is being myself within the family. Now, I don't appreciate joy stomping. So if I'm dancing or singing, and I do that a lot, and I am that type, then that's one thing that we don't joy stomp. Let people express how they're gonna express.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I was asking just to see if maybe you had some specific examples and stories. I know there's a few of us in here that have younger children, 5 to 7-ish, that age. So if you have any of those kind of stories, I'm definitely...
Yes. They're very open at that age. Oh, my kids could not wait for family discussion. And we use spiritual books, or not even we're moving away from needing the label. Life is spiritual. You pull, a movie, we'd watch Forrest Gump together. That was a little old, but talk about soul to soul. When our family went to Avatar together, it was like, wow, this speaks our language. There are a lot of great books out there. Obviously, I'm sure Marianne Williamson, that you use, and that might be your family discussion. That's it, you read together, but it's very purposeful that you're sharing this together. If you love music in your family, which we do, that could be your family discussion only. The parent pulls off Peace Train, the song, or Sweet Serendipity. We watch American Idol together, that song by Lita Wise. Oh my gosh, we had a family discussion. You listen to the song, Sweet Serendipity. You talk about what a serendipity or a synchronicity is. You listen to the song again, dance or not, your preference. Maybe have a little quiet stillness, and that's your family discussion. So it's really, I think about using everyday reality. We're not asking anyone to reinvent the wheel. Just be willing to infuse more of it into your daily life.